During the Cold War between USA and Soviet Union, a Soviet B-59 submarine was ready to launch an attack just a few kilometers off the coast of America in the Caribbean Sea. To bring the submarine to the surface, the US Navy deployed small bombs underwater. The captain of the Soviet submarine, already prepared to launch nuclear torpedoes, sensed the possibility of war escalation. At that critical moment, tensions between the US and the Soviet Union were exceptionally high, with both countries having thousands of nuclear missiles ready for launch. The Soviet submarine captain was about to press the nuclear missile button when an unexpected event occurred, which saved the whole world from potential destruction. This incident unfolded during the 12 days when the world was on the brink of a nuclear conflict between the US and the Soviet Union. The aftermath of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II had left the world aware of the devastating effects of nuclear attacks. Given the proximity of nuclear weapons and the intense rivalry between the two superpowers, it was widely feared that a nuclear exchange could wipe out 70% of the world's population. To make their nuclear arsenal more effective, both the US and the Soviet Union had strategic bombers constantly in the air. Additionally, the US installed nuclear weapons in Turkey and Italy, both NATO members and geographically close to the Soviet Union. After that, the Soviet Union decided to halt their nuclear weapons near the US. The best spot for this action was the island of Cuba, just 200 kilometers southeast of the US. The Cuban President Fidel Castro received Soviet weapons, and despite seeking good relations with Cuba, the Soviet Union had other plans. In a secret deal between Soviet President Nikita Khrushchev and Cuban President Fidel Castro, it was agreed that the Soviet Union would install intercontinental ballistic missiles. In return, the Soviet Union would protect Cuba from potential American attacks. This clandestine agreement allowed the Soviet Union to easily target the southern United States with its ICBMs. While the news of this deal remained unknown, but rumors spread across the US, which caused fear among the population about Soviet nuclear missiles being installed just 200 kilometers from Florida. The White House investigated all these reports, and during the 1962 state election campaign, people were assured that these reports were baseless. However, in the search for the truth, the US utilized the U-2 spy plane, which captured some images above Cuba. The photographs revealed medium-range R-12 and intermediate-range R-14 ballistic missile facilities. These images provided enough evidence that the Soviet Union had encircled the southeastern part of the United States. In response, President John F. Kennedy considered an airstrike on Cuba, aiming to first destroy Soviet ICBMs and then seize Cuba with full force. When the Soviet Union learned of America's intentions, they prepared for a potential attack and also had a Soviet B-59 nuclear submarine near Cuba in the Caribbean Sea. The submarine's crew had full authority to launch nuclear torpedoes without seeking Moscow's permission. The US Navy suspected a Soviet submarine in the Caribbean. They dropped small signaling charges into the deep waters to warn them. The Soviet B-59 submarine already lost contact with Moscow headquarters. Captain Vasily Arkhipov hesitated to launch nuclear torpedoes due to the uncertain war status. Amidst the debate among the three officers, Arkhipov opposed the risky move. Eventually, it was decided to surface the submarine to re-establish contact with Moscow and assess the situation. Simultaneously, a meeting between the Russian and American presidents led to an agreement that the Soviets would withdraw their nuclear missiles from Cuba and the US would not invade Cuba. This public deal masked the secret agreement that the US would also remove missiles from Italy and Turkey. Executive Officer Vasily Arkhipov's pivotal decision during this crisis is credited with preventing a nuclear war and is considered crucial for the survival of humanity. Share your thoughts about this incident in comment section and subscribe our channel for more informative content.